Hey. So I've seen a couple of posts recently on different sites talking about how they don't like the term special interest. They feel it's infantilizing and pathologizing hobbies, and while I can kind of see that, I do get where they're coming from. For me, there really is a big difference between a hobby and a special interest or a hyperfixation. Um, so take knitting. When I first started knitting well, I did a bit in school and then took it up again in my early 20s, so almost 20 years ago now. Um, and at first, it most definitely was a special interest or a hyperfixation. Um, I felt the need, like the urge, this powerful need to be doing it all the time. I read about it, I looked at patterns, I thought about it constantly. I made things in like a day because it was just this urge, this strong, indescribable urge to do it. And when I would engage with it, it was satisfying in a way that's really hard to describe. Like this bone deep, like, oh yeah, that is what I needed. I had to do this thing. Um, and over the years, I would say knitting has now become more of just like a kind of a hobby for me. I do it as and when I want to. I don't think about it constantly in the same way. Um, when I'm actually sitting knitting, it's still satisfying and I still enjoy it and I still feel a great deal of pride and pleasure in creating things. And in the process, I find it quite meditative. Meditative. Um, but it definitely doesn't have the same feeling as it used to. And yeah, maybe that's because when I first started knitting, it was new and exciting or whatever. Some people might, think that, but I mean, it's really hard to describe the difference of it. How different it feels when I would describe something as a hobby or as a special interest. Um, so while I can understand this kind of not wanting to pathologize people's joy and passion in life, that's absolutely fair enough. For a lot of us autistic people, there is a big difference between a hobby and a special interest. Um, and they can, like in the case of knitting, a special interest became a hobby. I've had it go the other way around as well, where something that started off as just kind of, like a fun way to pass time has become like, oh, this is something I am hyper fixated on now. This is something that I feel like a gene deep need to engage with this thing. Um, and so I just wanted to kind of express that because I'm not totally loving this kind of attitude that calling them special interests is a bad thing. Obviously, completely each to their own. Oh god, that is just bloody lip. And that's the whole point, I suppose. Ultimately, is that all autistic people are different. All people are different. Um, so there'll be autistic folk who don't experience special interests, and so when they but because they're autistic, when they express passion for something or find a new hobby or a new pastime or whatever, it is being pathologized by the people in their life. So that is their experience, and that's different to mine because historically I've been very fortunate that when I develop a new passion or hobby or special interest or whatever, the people in my life tend to be very encouraging and celebratory of that. So maybe it's also partly down to life experiences and you know people having folk in their lives who don't support their passions and enthusiasm for stuff, and that really sucks. That's not fair at all. Um, and I'm really sorry to the people who've had their joy smooshed down by other people's judgment and nosiness and rudeness. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to state that for a lot of us, and yeah, maybe the term special interest, maybe, yeah, I don't know if I entirely love that, but I can't really think of a better way to phrase it right now. Um, but yeah, for a lot of us, special interests are not just hobbies, they're not just ways to kill time or, meet people or whatever. It's a special interest, a hyperfixation is an indescribable need, an urge to engage with a subject or the craft or whatever it is. Um, and an equally indescribable sense of satisfaction and comfort, soothing, something. I don't know, it's really is hard to describe for me. But just know this, it is very different to a hobby. The feelings that I get from it are profoundly different. And obviously I don't speak for all autistic people at all. This is just my vibe about it. So yeah, anyway, just some ramblings, more ramblings, endless ramblings. Take care.